Welcome to Caribbean Wellness, where we chat about mental health and mental well-being. Our guest today is Djavila Ho.
Thank you so much for having me, Dennise. I am an associate clinical psychologist working here in Kingston, Jamaica. I work primarily with older adolescents of the Jamaican Psychological Society, JamPsych for short. JamPsych is really the professional body for psychologists and counselors in Jamaica. Full membership, speaks to persons who have a degree, whether it's a master's or doctoral degree in psychology or psychology-related field or counseling as well. But we also have international affiliates. So these may be persons who are Jamaicans living overseas or even persons of Caribbean descent or just who are interested in the work that is happening in Jamaica and want to sort of contribute. So we have international members. We also have student members. So these are persons who, of course, are pursuing degrees and studies in psychology and affiliated fields. And then of course, those who work very closely with us, so our psychiatrists, clinical social workers, and so forth, can also become affiliate members of JamPsych.
What is the status of well-being in Jamaica?
I think there is great intention to improve the state of well-being in Jamaica. In an effort to increase awareness about wellness and well-being, the Ministry of Health has now added that word in their title. So they are now the Ministry of Health and Wellness, really sort of hoping to capture more than just the physical aspects of health, but this mental health element. And so I think that is an initial step in improving the state of well-being. I don't want to say it's good or bad. I think of course it varies, depending on your circumstances and your interest in being intentional about wellness and mental health. But I do think that there is intention and that we're making some strides in improving that.
Do you think that Jamaicans are open to reaching out for any mental wellness support?
Yes and no, I think that's universal, really. I think, again, there are people who have come to recognize the importance of mental health and well-being, whether through their own personal struggles or that of someone who's, close to them. And so they may be more inclined to reach out. That also means that they are aware of what services are available. And I think sometimes that might be the hindrance. So there may be people who want to reach out, but don't know where to go. But then, of course, there's still the stigma. And I think that is what a lot of people battle with. So they may even understand there is a need for asking for help, but because of the stigma, because asking for help, I think oftentimes is equivalent to, being weak or not being able to manage certain things that people don't. So I think it does vary for sure. But again, I'm hoping, and I think I've seen a bit of an increase in persons reaching out for help.
And that is so good if people are beginning to reach out for help. Because if I had to make a judgment about Trinidad, I would say that reaching out for help is highly stigmatized and people don't feel comfortable. So it's not as open and it's not used as much as possible. And I thought it may have been a Caribbean thing, but you pointed out that's an international thing.
An international thing.
Yeah. If you had to make a suggestion to, let's say, the government or any of the authority as to what should be done to improve our approach to mental wellness and mental well-being, what would you suggest?
I think that psychology and mental health undergirds everything in society. When we're speaking about mental health, I do want to clarify that we're not speaking about mental illness, which is often where our minds go. We're not necessarily thinking about disorders. Mental health also speaks to, again, how we manage our emotions, how we think, our ability to reason and problem solve. Those things are all encapsulated in mental health. And so when we look at it in a broader sense, we can see how important it is in all the industries that we have, in labor, when we're talking about the workforce and in those industries, in our education system. And so I think it would be important to have psychologists and counselors, people who understand and use psychological science in their everyday work, sitting at tables, where policies and programs are being developed so that we can also inform from that level, instead of a reactive way, which is typically how it is, the ministry or someone may consult us, but we're not necessarily involved in the development. I think we could be more involved in that development stage, that could really help to improve mental health and mental wellness throughout our society.
That's a great suggestion. Have practitioners and counselors and professionals at the table when policy is being created. You mentioned employers, and I wonder, what is your view of the role of employers in ensuring mental wellness?
I think employers play a huge role in ensuring mental wellness. Again, most people spend the majority of their waking hours at work. So there is that. And I think it's important that employers consider mental health and wellness when they are developing their business plans, if they're at that stage, or in their just workplace philosophy. How do you cultivate a work culture that supports mental health and wellness, whether that be including more workshops or educational programs for certain levels of staff, especially our leadership and I would say HR in particular, but then also just encouraging daily practice of some of these mental wellness things. So not cultivating a culture of workaholism, which I think is a lot of where the world is right now, but really embracing that work-life balance. If you take vacation, not expecting to be called to be doing work while you're on vacation, things like that, respecting those boundaries. And I think leadership can exemplify that as well when they do some of these things. I think also considering hiring or employing an EAP, an employee assistance program. A lot of companies now are trying to do that. It's not always the most feasible, but I think this allows your employees to have some external resources for counseling services that are provided by the company. And then I think one of the last things I would suggest, considering how your health insurance package covers mental health and wellness activities. Is it an insurance package that includes coverage for medications or doctor's visits, psychiatrists or psychology visits? Because I think that's again another important way to show your employees that this is something that you're considering. This is something that they can, benefit from, and therefore increase the access to, I guess, mental health and mental wellness resources.
What advice or suggestions would you have from a personal experience to ensure that people keep their mental?
It's important that we be intentional about self-care. And I know it always sounds a bit trendy when we talk about self-care, and I think in social media, it pops up a lot. But it won't just happen if we're not intentional. And so I always encourage people to almost schedule it if you have to, almost as if it was an appointment with your doctor or, with your child's teacher. If it was something important like that you would definitely show up to, put it in your calendar as something that you're going to show up to for yourself. But I always ask people to think of maybe one thing, and I try to do this each day. What's one thing that I have done or one thing that I can do to sort of enhance mental wellness for today? Does it mean I need to enjoy eating lunch without doing it in front of my computer screen because I'm in front of it all day, right? Is it, I go outside for a walk if I can? And so I think there are little things that we can include in our daily practices, whether it's reading, maybe you enjoy novels and you haven't read in a long time. Reading for 15 minutes, it may not seem like much, but that's a break for you, right? And so if we're able to sort of identify things that we can do each day just with what we have, then that's one way that we can begin to increase and improve our mental wellness.
And as we bring this interview to a wrap, are there any closing comments that you have?
I would say to people that ask yourself each day, what's something I can do today to improve my mental wellness? And it may mean asking for help or identifying sources for help if there's something significant happening in your life, but also it could be taking that 15 minutes to read or, standing up outside and just enjoying that fresh air because it's a nice sunny day where you are. Mental wellness doesn't have to be a grand, luxurious thing. It doesn't have to be a flight to Bali, right? These are things that we can incorporate in our everyday lives. And as we keep doing that, then we are improving and increasing our mental wellness. So I would say, ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today to improve my mental wellness?
Thank you, Djavila, President of JamPsych, Caribbean Wellness. Like and share our post. Until next time, be safe.